A prophecy is coming true. 11th Doctor is summoned to Trenzalore, where it was said he would fall. But what does the least side of his final battle have to do with the mystery of Clara Oswald? Can a Paternoster gang help him avoid his apparent destiny? And most of all, Doctor Who? Welcome, friends and companions. How are you today? I'm doing great. This is your host, Enigmatic Joker. Fun and laughter and jokes and random and enigmatic and shuffle, whatever. um, all sort of fans meet on this channel for fun chats about their beloved books, movies, series, and franchises. We also talk about food and drinks, music and sport, and a special place on this channel for Doctor Who. Yes, my most beloved sci-fi series. I will watch this series till eternity. So random, because we'll discuss everything that involves entertainment, including movies and series, books and music. We don't do politics and religion. These are not entertainment. We dive not deep into these things. So fun and laughter, jokes, humor, and making friendships network. That is all what is this channel is all about. Random? Because we're broadcast on non-fixed time, actually many different times. It's also the case with Doctor Who, who travels through time and space. Yes, different universes. The universe is very big. And this world has many time zones. And the reason I do the live streams on many different times is because I want to meet as much people as possible. I want to meet you, actually. Yes. And to reach out to much people as possible, we do different times on this channel. And you need to subscribe to this channel actually to know what time the broadcast is. So keep your eyes fixed on YouTube. Well, right. So random also because we have no guests or different guests. It depends who wants to join me in a live stream or panel. Is it you? If you want to join me in a live stream, feel free to contact me via Discord server. You can meet me and visit there and contact me there. Or you can put a comment on one of the YouTube videos of this channel and we will look what is possible. So the Discord server is called Random Entertainment Channel Doctor Who. And you can find me very quick on this board because I bump the server regularly and actually I'm bumping now. I have a notification for bumping the server. So he's bumped now. Perfect. So um, you can find many playlists on my YouTube channel, different eras of the different incarnations of the Doctor, about info about companions, and also you can find playlists about personality of the different incarnations of the Doctor. So much info. Actually, it's not much of an encyclopedia. Actually, on this channel, and yeah, you find the different stories of the different incarnations of the Doctor in the playlists. Every season, every series has its own playlist. And today we have an 11th Doctor story with Matt Smith. Yes, 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 Matt Smith. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And it's called The Name of the Doctor. So today we do this. Um, a story, this 45-minute episode. So As usual, we do first do some general info about this story. So, the name of the Doctor was the 13th and final episode of Series 7 of Doctor Who. It explained the mystery of Clara Oswald's multiple lives and marked the reveal of a previously unseen incarnation of the Doctor. It featured cameo appearances and flashbacks of all of the Doctor's previous incarnations, and for the first time on screen showed the first Doctor stealing a TARDIS and leaving Gallifrey, showing that the Doctor had a number of TARDISes to choose from and needed a version of Clara to point out the right one because she knew that its navigational system, quote, was knackered, end quote, but he would, quote, have much more fun, end quote. Yeah, actually, I must think about last episode I saw. I rewatched the Doctor's Wife, and it explains a lot about the randomness of the travels of the TARDIS. I guess that for later. I actually did a live stream last time, or is it? It's relatively. I did a live stream in the past, in the future, in the present about the Doctor's Wife, the 11th Doctor story with Matt Smith also, and then explained about things about the TARDIS. But there are more episodes, actually, stories who describe the yeah the quirks of the TARDIS. Actually. So more about how the TARDIS work was explained in the episode, and also revealing that what ultimately becomes of the Doctor. The fate of the Great Intelligence was also shown, and the Great Intelligence is also in other stories, but that is for another time. The name of the Doctor was the first installment of 3 episodes titled "Of the Doctor," because we have different stories about with the Doctor. We have the day of the Doctor, of course, and the time of the Doctor. The name of the Doctor was the first installment of the 3 episodes titled Of the Doctor, and that formed an arc pointing towards the end of the 11th Doctor's life. Actually, it was followed by the Night of the Doctor as a webcast mini episode, and then the Day of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary special, and finally the 11th Doctor's departure in the Time of the Doctor. All specials. So, while this episode resolves the impossible girl arc, the question of who brought the Doctor and Clara together was not resolved until Death in Heaven the following year, and that is with the 12th Doctor Peter Capaldi. So that's is some general info about this story. So let's go to the plot. So, if a spoiler alert, if you haven't watched and or listened to this story yet, I highly recommend you to do that. Otherwise, you can listen further to the plot. So let's go. In a workshop, 2 engineers hear an alarm. One reports that it's from the repair shop. He wonders what kind of idiot would try and steal a faulty TARDIS. The workshop is at the base of the Capitol in Gallifrey. When the technicians look on their monitors, they see the first Doctor and his granddaughter, Susan Foreman, entering a capsule. Someone calls to the Doctor, stopping him. He turns to greet Clara Oswald, who tells him he is about to make a very big mistake. She then start the adventures of the first Doctor. William Hartnell. So Clara is seen falling through a golden vortex. She remarks that she does not know where she is, but remembers one thing: the Doctor. She is shown at several different points in his various incarnations, but few of them ever notice her presence. However, the 11th Doctor does notice her when she yells at him in Victorian London. Clara notes she blew into this world on a leaf and doesn't believe she'll ever land. She's the impossible girl, and she was born to save the Doctor. That's her life purpose. Also in Victorian London, a man locked in a jail cell rants in rhythmic fashion about the Whisper Man. Suddenly, he's disturbed by a veiled figure, Madame Vastra, standing outside the bars of his prison. The man, Clarence DeMarco, says that she could save him from being hanged with a single word, but Vastra promises him only silence. She points out that he has murdered 14 women and is therefore doomed to be executed. As if holding a pardon from the Queen, DeMarco mentions the Doctor, saying he knows all about him. Speaking about one specific secret among the Doctor's many, the convict says he has one he will take to the grave, and it is discovered. Later, Vastra is with Jenny, who protests that they must not let the man live. Vastra states that he will live until she understands what he told her. They'll need a conference call to investigate further. Jenny leaves the room to fetch the candles and hears a mystifying whisper coming from outside. Vastra wonders where Strax has gotten to which Jenny says the usual, as it's weekend off. Sighing, Vastra expresses her displeasure at Strax having found a certain place. In Glasgow, chanting is heard. Strax tackles a large Scottish man through the window of a fighting club. Each grabs a blunt weapon, trading threats with each other. However, a messenger boy interrupts them, much to Strax's annoyance, as he was enjoying the fight. The boy tells him an urgent telegram has come for him. Strax reads it, learning Vastra has called a conference call. Strax apologizes to Archie, his opponent, for not being able to finish, and asks the man to render him unconscious. He gives Archie his shovel, telling him that it could take a while as Archie whacks him on the head. Vastra and Jenny are seen sitting at a table, lighting a candle to enter a trance state. Vastra is pleased to notice that their surroundings have changed from the last conference call, as she was getting a bit tired of the Taj Mahal desktop tea. The pair begin to pour tea, which Vastra states should be superb, as it was created from her best memory of it. Strax soon appears, anxious to return to his fight with very pleasant primitives. Vastra apologizes but tells him there's an important matter concerning the Doctor that they need to discuss. When Strax asks who else is coming, Vastra says simply, the women. On an April day in 2013, Clara prepares to make a souffle In the Maitland's kitchen, she offers her charges a maxim from her mother. To souffle isn't to souffle. To souffle is the recipe. Her intention then wanders to a nearby letter, which the children say was left for her that day. Opening it, when alone, Foster's message admonishes her to light the enclosed candle and enter a trance state. That way she can talk to the Paternoster gang across time. Clara is plainly skeptical that Vostra has outwitted her. The letter itself is infused with this soporific in the candle, so Clara compliance is not required. Clara promptly passes out and awakens in the same room as Vastra, Strax, and Jenny. Vastra tells Clara time travel has always been possible in dreams, and that she is exactly where she was, but sleeping. She then says that they are still watching on one more person. Strax groans, wondering if it's the one with the big head, only to be corrected by Jenny that it's hair, not head. At this point, River Song appears and is greeted by Vastra. Changing her teacup into a glass of champagne, River is then introduced to Clara. Although having heard the doctor mention her, Clara states that she was unaware Professor Song was female. River appeals to exhibit some mild jealousy when Clara is referred to as the doctor's companion. Pastor hastily corrects herself and changes it to latest traveling assistant. Using some floating dust, Phosphor displays and recounts the information given to her by the prisoner. It shifts into frame symbols, which River identifies as space-time coordinates. Phosphor tells the group that the coordinates lead to the location of the Doctor's greatest secrets. Meanwhile, Jenny experiences some discomfort as a figure walks past her in their house. Outside their dream, River says that the doctor had told her his name, that she was a little more than a friend of his. She also says that he hasn't contacted her, as he doesn't like endings. Vastra says to River that Clarence told her one word that connected to the doctor, Trenzalore. River asks her to describe what the old man told her. Vastra plays back Clarence's prophecy in the floating dust. River claims they misunderstood what he was saying. Jenny suddenly says she forgot to lock the door in their house. A factor Vastra dismisses until Jenny tells them that someone has broken in. She discovers, to her own dismay, that she has in fact already been killed. Her form flickers and fades away. Oh. River informs Vastra that she's under attack and must wake up, and then slaps her to shock her awake. Vastra awakens, surrounded by the Whisper Men, and demands they tell her who they are. River wakes up, Strax had thrown her champagne in his face, and he finds himself also surrounded by the Whisper Men upon waking. The Whisper Men then enter the trance with River and Clara and order Clara to tell the doctor something. The face of Dr. Simeon appears in the dust to say his friends are lost forever, more unless he goes to Trenzalore. River protests again against this, and Clara wakes up. Clara goes downstairs, finding the doctor walking around the Maitland house blindfolded and calling for the children. The kids have tricked him into playing blind man's buff so that they could sneak out to the cinema. Learning this, the doctor can only call them the little Daleks. In annoyance, Clara asks the doctor about River. He calls her his he calls her his ex before changing the subject to Foster's message. As Clara repeats it, visibly distraught, Doctor asks her if it really was Trenzalore. Brought to free flowing tears, he deliberately snaps out of it and runs off to the TARDIS. Clara finds him below the console. The Doctor mentions he heard the name Trenzalore before, from Dorium Maldovar and a few others, and that River surely knew, as she always did. He links Clara to the TARDIS telepathic circuits, then cryptically remarks, when you are a time traveler, there is one place you must never go. One place in all of space and time you must never, ever find yourself. He tells Clara that she misunderstood the message. It was not the secret of Doctor will take to his grave, which has discovered, but the grave itself. The final resting place of the Doctor has been found, and it is the one place he must never go. Despite this, he has to save Vastra, Strax, and Jenny, if the latter is still alive, as they were there for him during his dark times and never judged him, only showing him kindness. As the Doctor sets course for Trenzalore, the TARDIS realizes that he is about to do and protests by finding the coordinates, but the Doctor forces her onwards. The Doctor explains that the TARDIS is fighting him because no one should be able to see where they are buried in the future. In the future, explosions shake the console room, and the TARDIS powers down to stop him. The Doctor states they've arrived. They open the doors, finding the TARDIS stopped in orbit around Trenzalore. Doctor muses that it's where he ends up, as he thought he would retire and become a beekeeper. Clara asks him if they are going to jump, which he dismisses as silly. He proclaims they are going to fall. The TARDIS has powered down everything, aside from the anti-gravs, or more accurately, anti-gravities. Declaring a guess what I'm turning off, he sends the TARDIS plunging down through Tenzalore's atmosphere to the surface. They land in a graveyard hastily assembled during battle. The rough landing cracks one of the windows in the TARDIS exterior, which upsets the Doctor. They exit into the graveyard to find their friends. Clara asks why the graves have headstones of unequal size. The Doctor explains that the more important the warrior, the bigger the tombstone. A giant TARDIS shell looms on the horizon, which Clara says is one hell of a monument to the Doctor. He clearly was worthy enough to get such a great tomb. However, the Doctor tells Clara that it's not a replica of the TARDIS. It actually is the future version of the TARDIS. He explains that sometimes when the TARDIS is dying, it's bigger on the inside. Qualities begin to leak out. In what is known as a size leak. What else would they bury me in? The Doctor sarcastically asks, heading towards his own tomb. A psychic echo of a river song appears to Clara, saying that only she can see or hear her, and not to mention her presence to the Doctor. On River's words, Clara directs the Doctor's attention to a grave that shouldn't be there, marked River Song. Realizing that his wife's grave would only be there to cover up something like a secret entrance to the tomb. They enter just as the Whispermen are closing in on them. During their climb through the catacombs, Clara suddenly starts to remember wandering through a broken down TARDIS. Doctor tries calming her, as the broken down TARDIS is starting to reawaken memories of a timeline that got erased. However, Clara soon backs away from the Doctor, as she remembered that he confronted her about meeting her in the Dalek Asylum and in Victorian England, that she died both times. The Doctor tells her it will have to wait. The Whisper Men began chasing them again. Inside the TARDIS monument, Strax and Madame Vestra awake, and Strax is able to revive the nearby Jenny. The Great Intelligence, using the appearance of Walter Simeon and his Whisper Men, arrive and surround them, telling them that they were taken to this place to lure the Doctor there. The Great Intelligence describes this location as the Doctor's final battle and denounces him as the slaughterer of the 10 billion. The Doctor's final battle was not as large as the Time War, but has blood on his hands. He also remarks that the Doctor will be known by names such as the Beast and the Villiard. Shortly, the Doctor, Clara, and the River Echo also arrive. The Great Intelligence stands at the door to the Doctor's tomb, hissing that only the Doctor's real name will open it. Repeatedly asking the question, Doctor Who? He tells the Whisperman to stop the hearts of the Doctor's friends if he does not answer. As they comply and the Doctor pleads with them to stop, the door suddenly opens. The Whispermen release their victims, while the Doctor seems confused. He did not speak his name. River Song's apparition comments that the TARDIS is fortunately still able to hear her. She is the one who opened the doors by saying the Doctor's name to the TARDIS, unheard by anyone else. Inside is an overgrown TARDIS control room with a glowing, redding beam of blue-white light where the main console would usually be. The Doctor explains that it is his mark on the universe rather than his body. He has traveled in time more than anyone else, and this is the scar tissue left from it. It is his own personal timeline, past and future, and everything that resulted from it. The Doctor collapses from the influence of being so close to his past and future in this way. He points his sonic screwdriver at the light, and several of his incarnations speak from it. The Great Intelligence reveals his plan to rewrite the Doctor's entire history, turning all his victories into failures. He knows that he will be killed, but the Doctor will surely be destroyed as part of his ultimate revenge. The Great Intelligence steps into the light and is destroyed. The light turns red, and the Doctor falls to the floor, visibly in terrible pain, as he is being destroyed all at once. Horrified, Vastra declares that a universe without a Doctor will have consequences. She flees outside and sees the stars go dark as entire star systems are erased from history. Jenny, having been saved by the Doctor previously, is also erased, while Strax turns hostile. Grief-stricken, Vastra is forced to vaporize him. Against both the Doctor's and River's protests, Clara decides to act. With the words, Run, you clever boy, and remember me. She follows the Great Intelligence into the Doctor's timeline to save him. A million copies of Clara appear throughout history, each one correcting the Doctor's timeline in her own way. On Gallifrey, one of the Clara echoes tells the First Doctor he's about to make a very big mistake by stealing the wrong TARDIS. She then directs him to the proper TARDIS, saying that even though the navigation system is broken, it will be much more fun. Haha, and we all know. With everyone restored except the great intelligence and Clara, the doctor says he's going to enter his time stream, risking its collapse to get her back. Phosphor remarks that the process killed Simeon, but is answered with the fact that Clara has one advantage over the great intelligence. She has the doctor. A frustrated River moves to slap him, but the doctor catches her hand. River is astonished and asks him how he did that, as she isn't even really there. Doctor says that she's always there to him, and he can always see her. He never said anything before because he was worried that talking to her would hurt her too much. When she tells him she believes she could have coped, he tells her, "No, I thought it would hurt me, and I was right." He kisses her passionately, which the doctor jokingly says must look strange to Vastra, Jenny instructs, since nobody else in the room can see River. River tells the doctor that he never said goodbye to her, and he admits he didn't know how. So she explains the only goodbye she would accept is one which promises their paths will cross again. They banter for a moment, like they used to, and she reminds him that she was telepathically linked to Clara and wonders how she could still be there if Clara was really dead. He asks, "Okay, how?" And River smiles and simply states, "Spoilers!" She dissipates with a final "Goodbye, sweetie." The doctor then steps into his own time stream. Clara lands in a dark, misty, and cavernous place. As she stands up, various incarnations of the Doctor run past her on all sides. She hears the voice of the 11th Doctor talking to her. He urges her to focus on the sight of her leaf. If she'll follow the leaf, he promises he will at last be able to save her in the same way she's been saving him for centuries. So the leaf successfully guides her to their welcome reunion. As they embrace, however, she notices a shadowy figure standing nearby. His smile melts away and is replaced with intense fear. Clara notices the figure but does not recognize him, despite having a thought she'd seen all 11 of the doctor's faces. The doctor, showing great apprehension, explains that the figure is in fact him, but isn't the doctor. He continues that his real name was not the point. He chose the name the Doctor himself, like a promise, and this mysterious man was the one who broke the promise. He is his secret. After Clara collapses, the doctor picks her up in his arms. The figure defends himself, saying that he had no choice and that his actions were in the name of peace and sanity. The doctor acknowledges this, but defiantly and angrily states that those actions had not been in the name of the doctor. As the doctor carries Clara away, the man turns around, showing his elderly face as an on screen caption reveals his identity to be the doctor. End of this story, the name of the doctor. I will name some cast members now. Um, the Doctor is played by Matt Smith. Clara is played by Jenna Louise Coleman. Vera Song is played by Alex Kingston. Dr. Simeon is played by Richard E. Grant. He's also famous about the Shoka Doctor. Vastra is played by Neve McIntosh. Jenny is played by Catherine Stewart. Strax is played by Dan Starkey. And she is played by Eve de Leon Allen. Archie is played by Cassius Carey Johnson. Andro is played by Nasi Voutsas. Fabian is played by David Avery. Clarence is played by Michael Jen. Archie is played by Reb Affleck. Messenger Boy is played by Samuel Irvine. Young Clara is played by Sophie Downham. Christopher Mann is played by Paul Casey. And the Doctor, the War Doctor, is played by John Hurt. And then uncredited cast is a double for Susan Foreman, Grania Pickard. So, some cast members. Some world building. Cultural reference from the real world. The Doctor says he hoped he'd retire and take up beekeeping, which is what Sherlock Holmes did when he retired. And probably the 11th Doctor is inspired by in his seventh incarnation with Sylvester McCoy in the story Delta and the Benjamin. There's also a beekeeper, so maybe he's a little bit inspired by that. He wants to be a beekeeper. Yeah, maybe. Um, about individuals world building, and because the Doctor was responsible for saving Jenny's life and turning Strax into a nurse, his absence from the universe makes Jenny disappear, and Strax revert to a more typical Sontaran before Phosphor kills him. Phosphor herself does not immediately change or vanish. However, Phosphor has stated before that the Doctor convinced her not to give into my anger when he met her, implying that her personality was not all that different. So, some world building with the Doctor. The fields of Translore are shown to be the Doctor's final battlefield. The Doctor's TARDIS is used as his tomb after his death, but instead of his body, holds his Stein stream. A third thing is that a previously unknown incarnation of the Doctor is revealed in his memory. This incarnation is the Doctor's greatest secret and one he fears greatly, who is not regarded as a Doctor for breaking the promise of his namesake. His existence is also suppressed to the point Clara only sees him after traveling through the entirety of the Doctor's timeline. A fourth thing is that the Doctor is identified as the 11th incarnation. However, this is technically untrue due to the secret incarnation. But that is explained later. Yeah, I've explained actually in one of the live streams the personality of the Doctor. Fifth thing is that as she is being retrieved by the Doctor, Clara does not appear to recall encounters with any future post 11 Doctor incarnations. This is explained in the time of the Doctor. This the last special with the 11th Doctor, and that which reveals that the 11th Doctor is actually in his final incarnation. A sixth thing is that the first Doctor is shown with Susan Foreman entering a TARDIS in an attempt to steal it. Clara then points him to the correct one in its default form before the chameleon circuit broke. Okay, we all know what what the results was. And seventh thing with the Doctor in the world building is that when talking about the Doctor's future, the great intelligence says that the Doctor's final battle is a minor skirmish compared to the other blood-soaked battles he fought in. This is presumably a reference to the War Doctor's involvement in the battles of the last Great Time War. Um, yeah, there are all more and more links and references to this. For example, in the Ninth Doctor's story with Christopher Eccleston in the Doctor Who story, Dalek, sixth episode of series one, for example. There are some references. And less great time war. So especially as the time of the Doctor shows the battle to be a massive one that stretches for hundreds of years. It is also possible, as the Thumb represents an alternative timeline. It is from a version of the Siege of Trenzalore, where the Doctor was defeated earlier than seen in the time of the Doctor. So some will be in about the Doctor. And some things with the TARDIS. Three things. When a TARDIS decays, it may begin leaking some of its interior dimensions to the outside, in this case, causing the TARDIS shell to expand to enormous size. This is referred to as a size leak, already mentioned. And a size leak would eventually prove dangerous, as later explained in the 12th Doctor comic story Playing House. And second thing, one of the windows of TARDIS police box disguise breaks slightly when the TARDIS falls from orbit. The same crack can be seen on the Doctor's grave shortly after. And the last thing in world building with the TARDIS is that the Doctor's future dying TARDIS is still able to sound the cloister bell, but the sound of the bell has grown enraged. Its ring is discordant, slowed, muffled, and out of tune. Some story notes. In this episode, it is revealed that Clara has lived thousands of lives throughout the Doctor's history, saving him from the great intelligence sabotage in each life. Finally revealing why the Doctor had previously met two versions of her at the Dalek Asylum and in Victorian London, respectively. However, according to her, he almost never notices her. The first Doctor and the 11th Doctor do interact with her, and the third Doctor and the seventh Doctor appear to notice her, but only for a moment. Despite the first Doctor actually carrying on a brief conversation with her, it would appear he later forgets this as the 11th Doctor doesn't recognize Clara. Another notable thing is that this episode has the record for the most incarnations of the Doctor portrayed in one episode. 12, including the War Doctor played by John Hurt, revealed in the final moments of the episode. However, this was broken by the Day of the Doctor, which featured 13 possible 14 Doctors due to cameos for Peter Capaldi and Tom Baker. And also, we have uh, what was it? Whatever. Okay. Um, the original. Okay. Another thing is that ultimately the Clara's companionship with the Doctor is an ontological paradox. Uh, an ontological paradox, some explanation, uh, is actually temporal paradox. Temporal paradoxes or time paradoxes were events arising from means other than the normal flow of cause and effect. Paradoxes varied greatly in terms of origin and severity, at the least harmful and were fairly benign sorts of paradox. where effect preceded cause, resulting in a confusing but tenable event. And that is, for example, in the less special with the 11th Doctor, the TV special, Time of the Doctor and Time Haste. And on the more severe end, however, were thoroughly impossible paradoxes, such as the descendants of a race traveling back in time to exterminate their predecessors. In the see that in the TV story Last of the Time Lords. Perhaps the most destructive form of paradox involved travelers interfering with the web of time or altering a fixed point in time, an act which could destabilize or destroy the entire space continuum. For example, Attack of the Cybermen and the Wedding of River Song. Um, so, this ontological paradox, the Doctor might not have invited 21st century Clara to travel with him if he had not met the echoes of her in the Dalek Asylum at the Victorian London. But she never traveled with the Doctor. Those echoes would never have existed. Also, a notable thing is that this episode shows a clips of different versions of Clara scattered throughout the Doctor's timeline, advising the first Doctor to steal his Type 40 TARDIS on Gallifrey, TV story The Aztecs. That's with first Doctor William Hartnell calling out for the third Doctor as he's driving away in Bessie. Great intelligence is also seen in this part of the sequence, also observing. The Five Doctors special with uh, main doctor in it, Peter Davison. It's actually an 20th anniversary special. Chasing after the fourth Doctor on Gallifrey is in the Phases of Time and finding the fifth Doctor trapped in the Matrix in the Arc of Infinity. That's with Nissa and again returning Tegan Jovanka in this story. It's also a story with the Time Lords and Omega. And then also there is a different version of Clara trying to find the sixth Doctor on his TARDIS, watching the seventh Doctor hang on his umbrella in TV story Dragonfire, where he meets Ace. This is also with Mel, the companion Mel. Running after the second Doctor in TV, Five Doctors, and the eighth Doctor, watching the tenth Doctor as he stands in the library and seeing the ninth Doctor run past her while she was inside the Doctor's time stream. So, other than the first Doctor, the story does not reveal how the echoes directly interacted and aided the other incarnations. Though both the end editing suggests the third and seventh Doctors alongside the first did see her. Another notable thing is that um, so we have now seen the visions of Clara. Now, another notable thing is that when the Great Intelligence is in Doctor's timeline, we additionally see the first Doctor examining the seal under the thumb of Yetaxa in TV story The Aztecs. And the Great Intelligence former henchman, the robot Yeti from the London Underground in the TV story The Web of Fear. That's what second Doctor Peter Troughton. And footage of the Ninth Doctor being held back by an Alton in TV story Rose, the first episode of Series 1, is visible when Madame Foster states that the Great Intelligence is doing. So while many While many of these appearances are taken from actual footage of the original actors in character, many of them are lifted from different contexts than they appear here. As mentioned below, for example, there was no previous footage of the first Doctor seeing the TARDIS that will become his, or as argued in TV story The Doctor's Wife. It's actually a story also with Matt Smith and explains TARDIS and actually is in the moment in personified. It's argued in Doctor's Wife, the TARDIS stealing the first Doctor. Similarly, it's actually the TARDIS stole Doctor. So Doctor says he stole the TARDIS, and the TARDIS says she stole the Doctor. So actually, they stole each other. So similarly, the second Doctor was never before seen running across a palm tree-lined beach in a fur coat, although he was seen running in a fur coat. In TV story, the Five Doctors, again the special 20th anniversary special, the main character Peter Davison, the Fifth Doctor. So and the audio of the first Doctor answering Clara, yes, what is it? What do you want? Is taken from the TV story The Web Planets. So this story features for the first time on television the Doctor prior to stealing the TARDIS, and the event had previously been portrayed in the comic strip adventure Time and Time Again. So, and his granddaughter Susan Foreman appears briefly when the first Doctor helps her into a TARDIS before the Gallifreyan Clara suggests he take another one because it will be more fun. Another note is that while trapped in the Doctor's time stream, the first, sixth, ninth, fifth, and fourth Doctors move past, behind, and in front of Clara. Unknown actors portrayed them. The actor portraying the first Doctor resembles the appearance of Richard Hurndall, who replaced William Hartnell in the Five Doctors and who died the year after the story was first shown on television. This is also the first televised story in which we see the Doctor Stardust in what appears to be its default form in the scenes set on Gallifrey. We also see it flying through the vortex soon after the first Doctor steals it. By the way, the default form is slightly different from, but similar to those seen in the TARDIS Bay on Gallifrey in TV story The War Games. During the second Doctor's time, though the Doctor's own TARDIS was already stuck as a police box then. Plus, it has been long established that the Doctor's TARDIS is an obsolete model, whereas the TARDISes seen in the War Games were likely more recent styles. Another notable thing is that this is the second series finale of the revived series not to feature a Dalek. TV story Last of the Time Lords, though the Dalek Asylum is mentioned and appears in a flashback in the TV story Asylum of the Daleks. Also a notable thing is that this marks the first television story in the revived series to use the complete moniker of a number doctor. When Clara says, "You're the 11th Doctor." This has arguably happened before, however, in the Three Doctors, John Pertwee. Sergeant Benton specifically refers to Patrick Troughton's character as the second Doctor, albeit not really due to him being the second incarnation. Many previous sources, as the TV story The Lodger, with Smith, or the Five Doctors have either used just the number 11th or regeneration, fourth. respectively. John Hurt's unknown doctor, notwithstanding, this could be seen to finally put to bed speculation as to whether the unknown faces during the mental duel in TV story The Brain of Morbius with the fourth Doctor Tom Baker were pre-Hartnell incarnations of the Doctor. Discussion on itself, interpretation on itself. Choose your own canon. Um, this is the first episode to use colorized footage of black and white material originally filmed in the 1960s. Um, Another notable thing is that this is the first season finale in the revived series to be set on primarily on another planet. Okay. Another notable thing is that this is the last episode to not have Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor appear in some capacity until the TV story The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Okay. We do now do some, as usual, we do some things about continuity because stories and episodes in universe are to some extent related to each other, linked to each other, are referencing to each other, and are from influence to each other. And every time I rewatch stories and episodes, I discover new things. And the continuity is also interpretation of every fan. So things to note is that first, the sixth Doctor, Colin Baker, believed himself to have seen his gravestone before, musing that he had never thought precognition of his own death would be so disturbing. This turned out to be a fake setup by Davros, linked to TV story Revelation of the Daleks. On a later occasion, the Eighth Doctor, Paul McGann, encountered his genuine corpse, then known as the Relic, linked to Pro's alien bodies. Another thing, the Great Intelligence refers to the Villiards. That is a TV story of actually a whole season, TV season Trial of a Time Lord with sixth Doctor Colin Baker, as well as the Beast and Storm as names for the Doctor, mentioning the Psychorex leader. That's Christmas Invasion 10th Doctor, David Tennant. Solomon the Trader and TV story Denisters on a Spaceship. Daleks and Cybermen as examples of the Doctor being blood soaked. This is another instance of the Doctor's actions being perceived as such by his enemies. The third thing is that Clara regains her memories of being trapped in the TARDIS. That's linked to the TV story Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. Very interesting episode, by the way. takes place in the TARDIS. The Doctor mentions the dimensioning forces can make one a bit giddy when he and Clara explore the very deeps of the TARDIS. His fifth incarnation, Peter Davison, previously told Edric that the dimensioning forces deep down the TARDIS could make one giddy in TV story Castro Valva. Another thing is that the most important leaf in history is shown in his return to Clara while she is in the Doctor's time stream. Linked to basically to TV story The Bells of St. John and the Rings of Akatan. Next, River Song appears from the databanks of the library data core. That is linked to TV story Silence in the Library Forest of the Dead. And the Doctor has apparently not attempted to contact her since her death in her own timeline. Next is that the Whispermen bear a strong resemblance to the Trickster in appearance, bearing the clothing, the color on the face, and the style of their teeth. The Trickster I have explained in earlier live stream, but for now it's good so. So amongst things that were explicitly undone were saving Jenny and making Strax good. In the TV story, A Good Man Goes to War. Another thing, Vastra mentions the great intelligence attacking the Doctor in the Dalek Asylum. The link to TV story Asylum of the Daleks. And on Androzani, the case of Androzani with the Fifth Doctor. And in Victorian London, in TV story The Snowman. It's a Christmas special with the 11th Doctor. The prophecy of the question is referred to again. And it's a TV story, The Pandora Opens, Let's Kill Hitler, and the Wedding of River Song. Another thing, continuity, is that River Song and Doctor both mention the Doctor's hatred of goodbyes and endings. See in TV story Logiopolis with the fourth Doctor Tom Baker. And the Angel State Manhattan, also with the 11th Doctor. And River states that this as the reason for him not saying goodbye after saving her to the data core. Ironically, this took place in the same story in which the Doctor exclaimed, "We need a good death. Without death, there'd only be comedies. Dying give us science." As in TV story Science in the Library with 10 Dr. David Tennant. Another thing in continuity, Clara screams, "I don't know where I am," several times while going through the Doctor's timeline. She said this before after being then downloaded by a spoonhead, and as a copy of her was being converted into a Dalek in the Dalek Asylum. You see a TV story The Bells of St. John and Asylum of the Daleks. Another thing about Clara is Clara attempts to make souffles and states that her love of them stemmed from her mother. Interestingly, her Oswin Oswald self in the Dalek Asylum made a souffle specifically on occasion of her mother's birthday, and the character's ongoing attempts to make the dish help the Doctor make her remember that she had been converted into a Dalek. And link to TV story The Asylum of the Daleks. Strax expresses that he did not know that River was a woman, once again demonstrating his difficulty of separating human genders as he did in TV story A Good Man Goes to War, The Snowman, and the Crimson Horror. He also thinks the boy with the message is a girl. While preparing to fight the Whispermen, he refers to Clara and Jenny as boys. Jenny also indicates that he has an inability to distinguish River's big hair from her big head. Another Victorian Undertaker previously tried to rewrite the Doctor's past using his lifeline, which also appeared as a scar in space and time. That time, the Doctor's companion Sam Jones also threw herself into the scar to save the Doctor, and you see that in prose unnatural history. Whilst discussing the Doctor's secrets, Fostra states that the Doctor doesn't share his secrets with anyone. That if Clara is under the impression that she is an exception, she should ask herself what his name is. The Dream Lord had a similar exchange with Amy Pond in the TV story Amy's Choice, as did Lady Painford with Ace in TV story Silver Nemesis with the Seventh Doctor Sylvester McCoy. River reveals that she, knowing the Doctor's name, is one exception to the rules. Another thing is that when the Doctor connects Clara's memories to the TARDIS through her hand, he reassures her, saying, "This won't hurt," only to apologize afterwards, which "I lied," inadvertently repeating the same lines that Rory had said to his father in TV story Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, and the lines River said to Amy after injecting her with a radiation vaccination in TV story The Time of Angels with the Weeping Angels. Another thing, when the Doctor points his screwdriver towards the wound in time left by Trevor's voices can be heard, similar to the scene in the console room in Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. Among them, the first Doctor asking, "Have you ever thought what's like to be wanderers in the fourth dimension?" To Ian and Barbara in TV story An Unearthly Child, first on-screen story. And the Sixth Doctor saying Daleks, Sir Tyrants, Cybermen. They're still in the nursery compared to us, to the Time Lords in TV story The Trial of a Time Lord, whole season. The Second Doctor saying there are some corners of the universe they have bred the most terrible things in TV story The Moonbase, Cybermen. Something what also can be heard the fourth Doctor saying, "Do I have the right?" To Sarah James Smith in Genesis of the Daleks. Can also heard the Ninth Doctor saying, "Absolutely fantastic" to Rose Tyler in TV story The Parting of the Ways. The Tenth Doctor presenting himself in TV story Voyage of the Tenth. The Fifth Doctor saying, "So you see," to Stats in TV story The Case of Andrani. The 11th Doctor saying, "Hello, Stonehenge," in TV story The Paladorker Opens. And the third Doctor, John Pertwee, saying it was the daisiest daisy I'd ever seen, to Joe Grant. A TV story The Time Monster. Another thing to continue to is that when the first Doctor steals the TARDIS, neither he nor Susan are wearing Gallifreyan clothing, but instead Earth clothing similar to what which they were later after leaving Gallifrey. Doctor has mentioned a dislike of Time Lord dress sense in previous episodes. For example, TV story Time Crash, a journey to the center of TARDIS. The Whispermen sing about Clara, the girl who died will die again, which sounds very similar to what the Silence said about Rory on the previous season finale in TV story The Wedding of River Song. The man who dies and dies again, die one less time. Another thing, the Whispermen at one point refer to the Doctor as the man who lies. In The Good Man Goes to War, Colonel Menton also refers to the Doctor as the man who lies. Also in The Big Bang, River tells Amy that the first rule regarding the Doctor is that he lies. Another thing, the Capitol and the Citadel during the first Doctor's time looked slightly different from those shown in TV story The Sound of Drums and TV story End of Time, showing the Citadel and a globe resting on a bigger structure below, and where the workshop is located. Another thing, Jenny refers to the different appearances of the conference call as a change in the desktop team. The same terminology used to describe the TARDIS console room's appearance by the Fifth Doctor in TV story Time Minisode Time Crash. Mini episode. Um, Another thing is that the concept that time travel leaves scars upon the universe allude to in the description, to the description of the horrors of the Time War mentioned by both the Doctor and one of the members of the High Council in TV story The End of Time. Both of them suggest that the writing and rewriting of time in the course of the war had created those horrors, among others, as an unintended side effect. Another thing, continuity, Clara Oswald's splintering into multiple copies resembles what occurred to Scarrot in TV story City of Death. Although in this case, Clara made a deliberate choice to put herself into a situation where she would become so divided. Scarrot, on the other hand, was forcibly splintered by the destruction of his spaceship. Another thing, full address for the Maitland's home is given in this episode. A close-up of Madame Vastra's hand, written envelope, reveals that they live at 30 Oak Street in Chiswick. This squares with the bells of St. John, where there are no fewer than 3 exterior shots of the house, number 30 on the right door jamb. A previous companion, Donna Noble, had also lived in Chiswick at about the same time. Another thing is that the unidentified incarnation in the Doctor's time stream has a fully beard and mustache, as 3 incarnations of the Doctor also did, each for a short time. For example, TV, sorry, Leisure Hive, Day of the Moon, and Prose, The Adventures of Henrietta Street. Another thing, the Doctor acknowledges that the TARDIS has a fast return mechanism, possibly referring to the fast return switch. See the TV story, The Edge of Destruction, with the first Doctor William Hartnell. And also, or Emergency Program 1 in TV story, The Parting of the Ways, the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. Another thing, River has met Vastra, Jenny, and Strax before. The TV story A Good Man Goes to War. Vastra appears to be aware of River's fate in the library. A TV story Force of the Dead. As it is the call-saved post-modem version of River, whom she recruits for the conference call. Another thing, the Doctor mentions Vastra, Jenny, and Strax caring for him during what he called the Dark Times, period he spent in Victorian London after the deaths of Amy Pond and Rory Williams. TV story The Great Detective and the Snowman. Great Detective is Minnesota. Snowman, of course, the Christmas special. Another thing, after offending of the Whisperman, the Doctor says, Yowza! He once kept blurting this word while reading Melody Malone, a private detective in old New York town, in TV story Did Angels Take Manhattan. Another thing, the decrepit cloister bell sounds within the Doctor's dying TARDIS as the Great Intelligence approaches the Doctor's time tunnel. TV story, example, Los Apollos et al. And whether the bell is sounding because the TARDIS is dying or because it senses the intentions of the Great Intelligence, or the universe is now in danger and about to be destroyed by the action of the Great Intelligence, is unclear. Another thing, the origins of the unknown incarnation are explored in TV story The Night of the Doctor. Also in Minnesota. I think before he departs Gallifrey, Clark tells the first Doctor to steal a particular TARDIS. He had previously intended to steal another. His granddaughter, Susan Foreman, had entered the first TARDIS, but he pulled her out of it. That is linked to audio story in the beginning. In its original form, the interior of the TARDIS cannot be seen from the outside when the doors are open, as was the standard for the classic series. Another thing, the events on Translator that led to the Doctor's death and the battlefield graveyard are explored in the Time of the Doctors, the last special with the 11th Doctor. However, with the help of Clara and Time Lords, the Doctor changes the future so that while the battle still occurs, he doesn't die in it, and Translator doesn't end up the desolate wasteland shown here. And the last thing in continuity. As of 2021, this episode marks the final event in River Song's timeline, coming after TV story Silence in the Library / Forest of the Dead. And that, my friends and companions, is all I have to say about this story, the name of the Doctor. So, my dear friends and companions, um, if you want to join me in this live stream in a panel, feel free to contact me via a Discord server. Random Entertainment Channel. Tag Doctor Who on Discord. Invite me very quick because I've bumped the server regularly. You can visit me and meet me on Discord, and or you can put a comment on one of the YouTube videos, and we'll look what's possible. What also is possible is to invite me for your channel. I am available for a live stream and panel on your channel. I want to meet you. I want to make friends, and I want to also talk about things we are interested in. So feel free to contact me. Feel free to invite me also for your channel and live stream or panel. I want also want to contribute to your channel and to talk about the things we love. So, all rest me is to say, cheers, mate, and have lots of fun. This is your host, Enigmatic Choker. For now, have a nice day. I'm looking forward to meet you. Bye bye.